and welcome to Destination Insight with me, Rory Smith. On this evening's show, we will be taking an insight into organ donation here in Northern Ireland. We will be meeting Jennifer Malone from Newry, who was not in favour of organ donation until her mother passed away, not knowing that she was a donor. Now Jennifer is in favour of organ donation and is campaigning for more people to sign the register, and more than anything for you to tell your loved ones your wishes about organ donation. Also, we will be meeting Sean Lavery from Ahagallion near Lurgan. Just 13 weeks ago, Sean was very ill until he got the call that he would be receiving a transplant. We will be speaking to Sean about the transplant that saved his life. Tonight is a very interesting programme, and remember, if you want to get in touch with us about anything discussed on this evening's show, then here is all the details that you need. Your voice to be heard on the show, and there are plenty of ways to get in touch with us. Check out our website destinationnewry.com, comment on our Facebook page Destination Newry, or send us a tweet to @DestNewry. You can also write to me directly on my email, rory@destinationnewry.com. Message me on my Facebook page, facebook.com/official Rory Smith, or send me a tweet to @RoryESmith. I'll be reading each and every email, Facebook comment and tweet sent in to us. This is your show and we want you to be a part of it, so do get in touch with us. Just 13 weeks ago, Sean Lavery from Ahagallion near Lurgan was very ill. Following surgery of a liver transplant, Sean was given the second chance at life. He now urges everyone to sign the organ donor register. Sean, you're very welcome along to the programme. So, taking us back then to when you were, before the transplant and back to when you were 19, you knew since you were 19 that something wasn't right.
Yeah, no, I was from then. I basically was getting sort of bouts of sickness and stuff, and just wasn't feeling well in myself, and started going to the doctors, and they were taking different bloods and all that sort of stuff, and it was coming back slightly abnormal, so they said keep an eye on it and stuff. But then this went on for a while, and then there's the first sort of thing of the liver had sort of appeared. Then it was just a sort of slight tint of yellowness in my eyes, and that really pointed towards the liver then, and that's when the doctor then sort of said, right, you need to get scans and stuff done to see.
But the liver, that had nothing to do with alcohol?
No, nothing, no. This is, like, I was only 19, I was playing football as well, so I wasn't even drinking then either, so absolutely nothing to do. It was just, they reckoned it was from the scans then they found there was a cyst in the bile duct in my liver, and they thought it was there from when I was born, and it was just got bigger over time and just started blocking the liver then, and that's when whenever the yellowness came in my eyes then, that's when I thought then it must be something to do with the liver. So I got the scan and showed up there was that cyst, and that was the start of all the problems then.
When was the first time that you realised that you need a transplant?
Well, it was sort of ongoing. It was in 2004. I got that cyst removed from my liver then, and then I thought everything was okay, and I started getting back to normal. I got back playing football again, back to work and everything else, and then I started getting the same symptoms again, and just same bouts of sickness, and they just totally drained and started losing weight and all this stuff, and so I went back to the doctors again, and they were sort of we're obviously worried from the past sort of experience, so I was then sent to the Royal, and that's their expertise in liver, and they had done scans and stuff, and they'd found there was slight scar tissue on my liver then, so they kept an eye on me then, and every 6 months I kept getting a scan every 6 months, and this was going on for, this was maybe from 2007, maybe 2008 this was going on from, so I was just continuing getting scans every 6 months, and every time I got a scan they were saying there's more scar tissue in the liver, and then they started giving me medication to try to help it, but then once I got another scan the medication wasn't working, and it just was seeming that my liver was just once again just sort of going back in itself. And
So then it was 2 years ago that it was confirmed that your liver was dying at that stage.
yeah, I was diagnosed with liver cirrhosis then in my liver, and they tried to change a few things, and I had changed, you know, different things in my lifestyle, you know, wasn't different things I was eating and all this sort of stuff. I was at that, you know, before that I was, you know, going out and having a night as a normal person, like, but again I just had to stop the whole going out altogether and not drinking anything. But it's still, I was getting scans and I was still coming back that there was more, you know, damage to my liver, and that's when I had to step in then and put me on the list, because they said you can either go too early for a liver transplant, or you can go, you know, if it's too late then you'll not get it. So there's like a
what was going through your mind whenever they said you're going on the transplant list?
At that time I'd been sick for, it was a good few years, so I was nearly asking the doctors to put me on it, but they were saying it's something you don't really want to get on, you know, because really you want to try to get better yourself. But at that stage it was, you know, I was totally fed up, and I was down, like my weight had come down to, I was sort of just below 10 stone and stuff, and really gaunt, and really just, my skin was pure yellow, my eyes were pure yellow. And I was just getting worse and worse, so I was completely fed up at that time.
What's it like being on the transplant list waiting for a donation?
It's, for me, it was like, it was just continuation of what was going on, but you were sort of thinking in the back of your head, because they told you, you know, as soon as you put on the list, you know, you can get a phone call from the next day, or it could be a year later. So you're sort of sitting at night time, you're thinking, oh, this could be, you know, and they told me as well that, you know, most times it will ring you at night as well. So you're sort of sitting every night thinking, you know, this could be the night to go. So
when you were on the list, was there a chance that because of your condition you could have died?
Yeah, it's well, there's like a percentage that they say at the time that there's 20% of people that don't make it to the transplant who are on the list. So it's because of the lack of organs, like, so, you know, if I wouldn't have just got the right organ in the right time, or it was only because my blood type was sort of normal, it was like blood type A or something. So, you know, if you're more of a rare blood type, that's when you have more time to wait.
That must have been scary for you and your family, waiting for a donation.
Well, I don't really get worried about things or panic about things, but it was more as my family were worried, and, you know, they were, you know, any time, like the likes of my mother, she couldn't go anywhere. She was like constantly, like, you know, you know, if she's going for dinner somewhere, be it, oh, I'm away for dinner here just in case anything happens. You know, she was sort of, because I was on the list for a year, so, you know, it was basically you're just sitting about. I couldn't go anywhere, and couldn't go, like, I think they said if you go anywhere further than an hour away from home, you have to ring them and tell them just in case, you know, so you are basically stuck, you know. But I didn't try to, you know, make it sort of hold me back too much. But even though I wasn't able to do much, you know, at the time, but, you know, I was trying to get you know, going to football matches if I felt well enough and stuff. So, you know, it's I don't know, it was but because I was sick for so long, you get used to being sick, and that's just the way it goes, and you just get on with it.
This time of your life was obviously very, very hard for you.
Yeah.
Do you believe that if there was more organ donors out there, that time could have been shorter for you?
Well, I was lucky enough with my blood type and stuff. You know, they said to me my average waiting time was 4 to 6 months, but as I say, it took a year because they were looking like a particular liver for me because I'm younger, and they're looking, you know, really good liver. But yeah, if it's only a matter of, you know, the surgeons going and, you know, ringing saying such and such blood type, and I just get one straight away, you know, it would be a lot easier. But as I say, there's campaigns going for that, which hopefully will come off. Like.
And on April the 17th of this year, you got the phone call from the doctors.
Yeah.
What was that phone call?
Well, it was early Thursday morning. It was 1 o'clock in the morning. So, and that time I wasn't sleeping or nothing. Night time is like a thing to do with your liver as well. It's your sleep patterns all over the place. So I was staying up all night anyway. But got the phone call, and they were saying we've got a liver for you, and I just need to make arrangements to travel over to England or London. So I went then. They sorted out the travel and rang me back and said could I make my way to Aldergrove Airport, and so I was dead on. It was me and my parents brought me to the airport, and my mother came with me. She stayed the full time I was there, and I arrived at Aldergrove Airport around about 2 o'clock, and it was just a private plane. and there's only like 4 seats or something in it as well. Like, it was total surreal experience, like, because it was all 100 mile an hour. There was nothing, you know, couldn't wait on anything. So, but I had my bag packed from, you know, a year in advance when I'd been on the list, and so it was just basically left the bag and went. And the flight was about 2 hours. Arrived in London, and was an ambulance waiting, and it was blue lights straight to the hospital, and was there like about 5:30 in King's College Hospital in London. So that was the start of the whole process.
It was all go from that stage.
Yeah.
How relieved were you to get that phone call?
It was great. It was when we were travelling the whole time. My mother kept saying, "Are you not nervous?" As all know, I think I'm just ready for it. It was because they said you have to get yourself mentally prepared to do it, because it is a big shock to the system. But I was big time.
Were you ready for it?
Like, yeah, I was. I wanted it. Like, you sort of need to want. You know, you have to want it. Like, so you don't panic. And I was ready to go. Like, so I wasn't in any panic. And I say, like, I trust. Like, I don't know. I just trust all the doctors. And there's a lot of complaints and stuff going about the NHS and stuff. But whenever you're at that level of, you know, sickness and having to get some, there is no like expense spared, and you know, they're all top class, you know, surgeons in the hospitals as well. It's, you know, there's no complaints at all about NHS. I know they get a lot of abuse and stuff, but as I say, whenever you're at that sort of standard, you know, it's unbelievable. It's unbelievable.
Now, when you came back from England, you said that immediately you felt your energy coming back, you felt your appetite coming back. I mean, this was all instant.
Yeah.
Was it really that fast?
It was even before I came back, because got the operation on the Thursday at 2 o'clock, and it was like a 9-hour operation. It was over 11:15, and then I was in intensive care. So on the 3rd day of intensive care, they had me out of the bed, sitting up, and then the 4th day I was walking, and then the 5th day I was up with the physio walking, and up flights of stairs and everything. Like, so compared to what I was able to do before, because you just feel sick all the time, and you can't eat, and you know, the smell of food just makes you feel sick. But you wanted to eat, you know, straight away, and you didn't feel sick, and you had more energy, and my eyes were pure white again, which was the first time in about, I don't know, many years, maybe 6 years or something. So it was actually my parents, they come over at that sort of, when my mother was there, and then my father, he arrived in that night, and they noticed straight away after the operation that how the colour had come back in my face again, and it is straight away, like, you know. And that was the next day after the operation. That was on the Friday that they had noticed that my skin had went back to normal colour and my eyes went back. So,
but this all could have had been done months ago if there was more organ donations around.
Yeah.
It could have saved you that year of being on the list. It could have been done within the 4 to 6 months, as they had said.
Yeah.
Now, do you believe that there was a chance that your fiancée and your daughters, Eva and Lily, could have been left without a father if that person had not signed the organ donation register?
Yeah, it's no, like, I know whenever people think organ donation and stuff, you know, they can't, you know, like, oh, we'll do it sometime or whatever. But when it comes to, you know, the crunch of something happening to somebody, and there's, you know, it's majority of the time it is traumatic, you know, and they say the doctors don't feel like they can go and ask, and all this sort of stuff, you know, so they just leave it. So there's, you know, organs wasted by, you know, it's just the way it goes, like. But no, it's you can't put sort of any, I know, like, money, or it's just completely priceless, the whole thing. And what I have now, which I had before, which I'm not completely back to normal, but you know, I am getting there, and I can feel the difference, and I can go and, you know, go to places with my children and do things with them, and I don't feel tired all the time. Like, I would have had to go and lie down during the day, and that's like, they go to bed at 7 o'clock, so I only had like a few hours to, you know, to work with them, like. So but now I've got the full day, and I'm enjoying life again, which is vital, like. And for, you know, for somebody to give up an organ to save your life, you can't really put, you know, you can't even thank them. But then I will, you know, send a letter eventually to the.
How much gratitude do you have towards them?
No, I say you can't put words to it. It's unbelievable, and you know, that's why I do urge everybody to either, you know, sign the organ donation, or you know, just say that you want it, you know, done. If anything, you know, I'm not saying that I
Because you're living proof that it has changed your life.
Yeah.
You're living
But
proof of
that's what has to be seen. You know, it's all right on TV when there's adverts and stuff, but most of the time the adverts are only actors and they're not real people. So, you know, whenever, that's why I want to do this, to have somebody to sort of go, you know, he got it done. It's a real person. He's normal, and you know, it can happen to anybody. You know, and as I say, when you know in the hospital, you know, there was 14. Whenever I was in Kings, there was 14 post-ops, like in my ward, like that I was in. So, you know, and I'm sure I know many people that's on the list, whatever. But unfortunately, there's not the full amount make it, which it has to stop, like, because it's not really fair on families, like, because as I say, it can happen like that. You know, your liver can just start failing. You know, just the body just starts refusing it. So you just don't, you know, you don't know when the day will come, like, you know. So, but it's just having that availability of organs. So if somebody does, you know, and it's only whenever, like, I know that locally and stuff in my family, you know, people they probably feel strongly about it, but you know, it's the outer people that don't know me or anything. It has to be like a personal thing, but hopefully that'll stop and it'll be more of a countrywide thing where it's a thing that has to be done.
And the way to do that is to just simply sign the organ donation register. And you're holding fundraising events now coming up in February for that. Tell me about your fundraising event.
Yeah, it's in the Sega Hotel in Portadown, and it'll be a 4-course meal with a prize draw, and there will be somebody speaking at the dinner from the liver transplant support group that are in the Royal Victoria Hospital, and that's the charity I'm doing it for. They're brilliant. You ring them for advice or anything, and they give you sort of financial, you know, help as well when you go to London and all that sort of stuff. So it's brilliant. And then when you're over there, they've linked up with Kings, and there's like a hospital housing over there. So that's where my family stayed in whenever they come over for nothing. Like, I was there for 12 days and it didn't cost them anything to stay. So that's another thing that you can't put a price on either. So that's why I wanted to do this fundraiser and give a bit of sort of thanks back. But yeah, there's the draw, and then there's the hypnotist, Adrian Knight. He's going to be playing, and then there'll be a disco after. So it'll be a great night. Look, it's on Valentine's night of 2015. So looking forward to it.
Brilliant. Well, all the best with that, and all the best with your recovery after the transplant. Thank you for coming in today.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
A big thank you to Sean there for coming in today to talk to us. Coming up, we will be speaking to Jennifer Malone, who changed her mind about organ donation following the death of her mother. That's coming up shortly. back. The truth is that the number of organ donors are on the rise, but we still need more people to sign on to the register. Take a look at this insight into organ donation here in Northern Ireland. In Northern Ireland, there are currently over 550,000 people on the organ donation register, which is around 31% of the Northern Ireland population. There are currently 190 people in Northern Ireland on the waiting list for organ donation. Since April 2008, 75 people have died in Northern Ireland while on the waiting list for an organ. In 2012 and 13, just 40 residents of Northern Ireland donated organs after their death. In the UK, there are 13 donors per 1 million people, which is still one of the lowest rates in Europe. This appears to relate to EU data on the number of transplants, not donors, per million of inhabitants. It is critical that more people sign the organ donation register to help save lives. Over 1 million more people in the UK pledged to help others after their death by registering their wishes on the NHS Organ Donor Register, bringing the total to 20,239,715 in March 2014. 1,328 lives were saved in the UK through a heart, lung, liver or combined transplant. In the UK, a further 3,724 people had their sight restored through a cornea transplant. The number of organ donors registered in Northern Ireland has reached an all-time high at just over 580,000 people. The number of Northern Ireland residents on the organ donor register rose by 1,893 in the days after the launch of a public awareness campaign. Doctors have said that they are committed to the introduction of an opt-out system which safeguards in Northern Ireland. One person signing the register could save up to 7 lives. As it was said there, if you sign the register, you have the power to save up to 7 people's lives. It is so important that you consider signing up. Now, after the break, Jennifer Malone will be with us, who tells us how important signing the register really is through the heartwarming story of her mother. See you in a moment.
We're a digital solution company with our headquarters in Ireland. We have, with colleagues in the United States, in Hungary and in India, developed what we believe to be the most cost-effective, the most simple to implement digital signage solution for every type of business that wants to increase sales and add to the quality of experience for their customer and their audience. Digital signage is just a fancy phrase for a method of displaying your product or services on devices and screens, televisions as well, engaging with your customer and helping your customer understand exactly what you do, what services you provide, and how your customer can access the same. And it all happens through the simplicity of this little box. If you're a retail business anywhere in the world, contact us and get a free digital signage trial. Now, to see how we power local internet television, please go to the aboutdestinationnewry.com channel. And to review or join our business network, please go to the Local Business Network channel. Thank you.
Welcome back. In just a moment, Jennifer Malone will be telling us how important it is to sign the register and tell your loved ones your wishes. But first, if you want to get in touch with us regarding anything on this evening's show, then here are all the details that you need. Jennifer Malone is with me now. And Jennifer is here to encourage everyone to talk to their loved ones about their organ donation wishes. And you're very welcome along to the programme, Jennifer.
Thank you, Rory.
So, Jennifer, your mum, Barbara Andrews, sadly passed away at the age of 76 in 2012. And you and all the family came to the agreement to donate your mum's organs, which helped to save and transform the lives of 3 people.
Yeah.
But before I want to talk about what happened surrounding your mother's death and the decisions that were made after, just give me a wee background about your mum. What type of person was your mum?
My mum, first and foremost, was a bingo fanatic, and anybody that went to bingo in Newry would have known my mum. She was the youngest of 13 children, and she grew up and lived all her life in Newry, and her parents were from Newry as well. She thoroughly loved her children. She had 6 children, and unfortunately we lost my brother at the age of 12. He was killed on Monaghan Street roundabout here, and my mum had 5 then, and we lived on the main Armagh Road. My mum worked as a domestic in Daisy-Hill Hospital and thoroughly enjoyed meeting people and talking to people and doing messages for people. She then later decided to do home help, and again loved working with older people in the community and helping people and doing their shopping and. When I gave birth to my eldest daughter, who was 33 yesterday, my mum decided to give up her part-time job in Daisy-Hill Hospital and to start minding my children. So that allowed myself and my husband to continue working, and my mum reared my 3 children. And thoroughly enjoyed going on holidays every single year with us, or indeed many weekends away. She enjoyed company of other people, and she thoroughly enjoyed family get-togethers.
And in one of those holidays in July 2012, your mother Barbara became ill after returning from the family holiday.
I had absolutely, there was no signs at all that Mummy was any different to any other time she came on holidays with us. Probably some of the things that, when I look back, we had the pleasure of having baby Jack with us on that holiday, and baby Jack was being christened the following Sunday. Emma was 2 and Jack was born. So we went down south for 5 days, and we had a lovely time, and Mummy walked around stately homes and pushed the pram, and she played with the children. She was in the pool every day with the children. We went out every night for our meals. Everything was included in the hotel. It was just a package deal that we got, and she walked in and out of the town with us and did everything that we did. There was absolutely no sign that there was anything wrong with Mummy on the holiday, and in fact it was just another great holiday, a great memory. We came back very late on the Friday night, and on the Saturday she phoned and said she didn't feel very well. And as the day progressed, she seemed to just get weaker as the day went on, and waiting on doctors getting back, Mum eventually was taken into Daisy-Hill Hospital, and they thought she had a chest infection. So she was being treated in Daisy-Hill for a chest infection, and within a few hours was taken up to the ward and was put on her drips, and they said that she was fine, there was nothing life-threatening, she just had a chest infection. And then a few days later they thought the antibiotic hadn't kicked in enough and that she still wasn't coming round as well as they'd thought, so they did some x-rays, and they said the reason they were doing the x-rays was because they thought that she might have had a touch of pneumonia. And that quite stunned us because there was no symptoms or signs beforehand, and they says no, it can just appear at any stage but could have been there for quite a while. So I had gone up to the hospital that morning because she was a bit agitated, and she just says that she wanted some of my family to be there, so of course I phoned. She actually just kept asking, was my sister home from holidays, my sister Elaine, and I says she was due home that day. And Mum, I said she'll get to you as soon as she comes in, and they took Mummy to x-ray, and I said sure, I'll pop down with you, and she says get back to your work. And that was the sort of her all the time. It was just go back to work, do what you're doing, I'm fine. And when I got back to work, I got a phone call to say that it was Daisy-Hill Hospital and that Mummy had taken a wee turn, and I thought that's really kind of them to phone me and tell me that. And then all of a sudden I went, hold on a minute, this isn't what I think it is. So I got into my car and I couldn't remember phone numbers, couldn't remember anything. I started to try and contact my family and told them all to meet me at the hospital, and got to the hospital and they wouldn't let me see Mummy. And she was behind the screens and they took me into a private room, and it seemed like forever till my family got to me. They then informed me that Mummy had had a massive stroke and that they were making her comfortable and they were going to take her to high dependency. And I thought, is it on the right side or the left side? You know, because it doesn't really matter to me. You know, we'll get through this. And they said, I says, Mummy talking? And they said, it's too soon to tell, you know, the severity of the stroke. And then they said, you have to come with us. We can't get Mummy regulated and we're going to have to take her to the theatre. And at that stage, some of my family had started to arrive. So I was taken off to a room beside the theatres, and eventually all of us got there, and we were told that Mummy had a very severe stroke and that she was fighting for her life, and we thought she'd only got a chest infection. We then were taken into the theatres and we were shown a person that didn't resemble Mummy. Basically because that was all foreign to us, the theatre in itself and the tubes and the amount of machinery attached to her. And the fact that they taped the eyes, and it just was a shock to see that that was what we were presented with. They then told us that they were going to get her into an intensive care unit in Craigavon, and the next 48 hours were critical. We then made our way to Craigavon, and they said, you know, we really need Mummy to stabilise now over the next 2 days, and we need her to wake up. And we thought, right, so 2 at a time we're allowed to go in, and we took it in turns and we sat all day and all night. And they said, look, there's really no point in sitting during the night because the machines are doing all the work. You know, she's heavily sedated, blah, blah. And again, it was getting your head around what doctors were saying and the nurses, but it wasn't sinking in. It was like, just waking up and hurry up and we'll get you to the stroke unit. And, you know, we never thought that the outcome wasn't going to be that Mummy wasn't going to recover, albeit that she might have had an impairment. That was no big deal. It was, we just need to get Mummy better. And that wasn't to be. The next day, my husband was reading the charts and was speaking to my brother-in-law, and I just said, you know, I need you to talk to me and tell me what's going on here. And my husband said, Mummy isn't going to come back from where she is. And I just thought, no. And he says, no, Mummy's not going to come back from where she is, Jennifer. And I thought, okay. And we were told then that to go home again and come back the next day, that Mummy still hadn't come round. And I just said, no, I'm not going home. Because my husband had said that to me, I just wanted to be with her. So my family left, and my brother Barry decided to stay with me, and Barry phoned his family to tell them that he was staying overnight with me, and he says, go on back in, Jennifer, and sit with Mummy. I'll just ring Valerie here and have a chat with her. And I walked back in, and there was a young doctor, and he was putting the lights into Mummy's eyes and just checking her observations, and he said, no, the left pupil is now fully blown. And I just went up and he says, you know, take her away, you know, please remove, take her back to the waiting area. And I said, no. And he says, do you understand what I'm saying here? And I says, you're just telling everybody here that my Mummy's had another massive stroke. So I just grabbed her arm and asked her not to leave us. I asked her to fight. And I ran out to the waiting room, got my brother Barry to phone my family. They all came back to Craigavon. And the surgeons came in and told us that they were going to do a brainstem test because they believed that Mummy was brainstem dead. Didn't understand what that meant, didn't think I needed to. But apparently when you're brainstem dead or pronounced brainstem dead, it's not like dying. And I'm probably not going to explain this properly because, as I said, I am definitely not medically minded. But they said that because Mummy was pronounced brainstem dead and the tests were done by 2 consultants, that her organs now presented as a much younger person's organs. So even though Mummy was 76, they were saying the organs then presented as a 60-year-old's organs. Now, during the time of the stroke, my family coming back, We were all taken into a room by the consultant and we were shown the extent of the stroke. And again, you were asking questions and you didn't know where the questions were coming from. I said to him, "Is my mummy blind at this stage?" And he said yes. And my sisters were going, "Why did you ask that?" I says, "Because the stroke was so far down the skull that all I could see was, well, if the stroke is hitting this right down to here, if that's the part that they're saying is being affected, then she must be blind." And that to me was the final straw, that my mum could have lived with an impairment. She could have lived with, you know, mobility being restricted, but she could not have lived without her sight, because her biggest love was her garden and birds. And just her garden was an absolute pleasure. My mum had great fun making everybody's pots for outside their houses and for helping us all to present our gardens better. And we knew then that we had lost Mummy, and whilst they were saying to us, "Would you consider organ donation?" We went outside and discussed that as a family.
When they first said to you that, would you consider organ donation, what was going through your mind at that first point?
No.
Why were you saying no?
Don't cut my mummy, literally. Just give my mummy back to me as she is. Don't take anything out. Part of me, my religious beliefs would think that we've always been taught maybe that we shouldn't do that. And again, that could be naivety as well, that I don't understand the full extent of how important it is to pass on the organs. But we found that very difficult as a family, and certainly the emotions were very, very high in the waiting room. And adamantly, some of my family just thought, "No, not going to do it. You're not allowed to agree to this." My sister Margaret and myself were taken into a room, and they said, you know, sorry, before we were taken into the room, a lady came into the room and just said that we didn't have to now decide on this because Mum had already signed the forms and registered herself.
And you didn't know this? You didn't know this at that stage?
She registered the year my eldest daughter got married, which ironically was a couple of months after my sister had lost her only child. My sister Catherine lives in Australia, and it was very difficult because we were phoning Australia and trying to keep Catherine in the loop while we were all sitting in Craigavon Hospital. And knowing that my sister Catherine had only ever managed to carry one baby, and Alex had died. Alex died with Edwards syndrome, which basically meant that he was born with no kidneys. And my sister Catherine, whilst she was a very young girl and right up to her teen years, would have had kidney problems. And it was only the month before Alex was due to be born that they realised he hadn't got any kidneys. So they told her that she would give birth to a healthy baby, not a healthy baby, that she would give birth to a full-term baby, but he was coming out to die, and he lived for 9 hours in her arms. And that hit home very hard for all of us because it was her only child. And
do you believe that this is when your mum decided to sign the register?
Well, part of me thought that she did it because Debbie was getting married and I probably forgot that the main reason for doing it was because Mummy kept saying, if Alex is coming out and they know he's going to die, we didn't know if it was wee boy at that stage, why can't they just take one of our kidneys? But apparently because he didn't get any kidneys, nothing developed in that area, an implant, you know, him getting a kidney from someone else wasn't an option, because I know that his mum and dad would have offered straight away.
Why do you think that your mum decided not to tell anyone that she did register?
Part of me sometimes thinks that maybe she just forgot. Or maybe that was just something that she wanted to do and it was just so important to her. So when they said that she had already signed all the cards, we honoured her wishes, and as a family we decided then, right, everybody sit down, now talk about this.
Was that hard for you to even honour her wishes, to say to donate her organs? Yeah.
Sitting, you know, like I was saying to my sister Elaine didn't want to have to deal with that, wouldn't have wanted to deal with it, and she was too upset to do anything. Elaine did manage to get to the hospital when Mummy took the stroke and that, so she was only back from her holidays and got in, so she was a wee bit that she didn't get talking, but none of us got talking to Mummy from I left the hospital that morning. The last words Mummy said to me was, get you back to your work. So not one of us got to say cheerio to Mummy. We were telling her we loved her, obviously, and doing what families normally do when they're with their loved ones, but we didn't have a conversation with Mummy. She never regained consciousness from I left that morning in Daisy Hill till we got to Craigavon. So you were hoping she could still hear you. You were saying things to her and you were just hoping that she could hear you. The nurses told us Mummy signed the register, as I said, and the decision was taken from our hands. We decided as a family that we would honour her wishes. We were then told that the death certificate had already been written. It wasn't like when Daddy passed away, we were all there, we sat round the clock and Daddy died in my arms. It wasn't like that. It was, everything went on and we were out in the waiting room and why didn't they call us in? And it was mechanical, for want of a better word. It was, they were on the phones trying to get recipients, and they had to line so many recipients up. And at one stage, they only got one recipient for one organ. And we were saying, so we're going through all this and they're only going to take one. And then it went from one to, oh no, we're going to take everything. So when they said they're going to take everything, that they had lined up enough donors to get more organs. I was going to say bits there, but...
Why do you think that at that time that this was happening to your mum, that you were so against it? What has changed now that you're so for it?
Probably a little bit of knowledge now. And I would say it only hit home when I went, Mummy was recognised for giving her organs, obviously, in Belfast Castle. And, sorry.
You're okay, take your time.
Dame Mary Peters gave us a beautiful award for Mummy, and it was when all the other people went up, and it was such a private event. You went up and Dame Mary spoke to you about your mum and asked, did we know the recipients? And I says, yeah, we don't know who the people are. I know that Mummy has helped a retired gentleman with grown-up children, and he doesn't have to go back for any more dialysis. So he was going to the hospital 3 times a week, and now he doesn't have to go at all. An elderly grandmother now has returned to minding her many, many grandchildren. A 40-year-old man has now got sight who never seen until the age of 40. And that's not... I know when they were ticking boxes, I got quite... I probably just was going, why are you ticking? What are you doing? But that's just me. I have to know what you're doing and why you're ticking. And they were saying, you don't really need to know that. And I said, but I do need to know that, because that's... Are you ticking things you're taking out of my mummy? And they were going, yes. And I goes, well, you're ticking an awful lot of boxes there. And they said, yes, it's all tissue sample. It's other things that I didn't even know were in the body. And I was going, I'll ask my husband when I go out what that is. So they were saying that there's like pieces inside us, and they're like little tubes, and they're maybe that size in an adult. And if a baby's born without it, it can cause serious health issues for the child. But if they get an adult one, they can take that and they can split that into 6. And that then can help 6 babies that are born without this. And it went on and on that someone suffering from leukemia, that they can use the tissue to grow things that can help platelets and. And it was when the doctor stood up in Belfast Castle and started to say things about why they take the tissue. Because I didn't, all I thought of was, you're cutting too much, you're cutting too much. Like I said stupid things like, make sure you give Mummy, make sure that Mummy's got a really strong anaesthetist, you know, make sure you put her under well before you take them all out, and stay with her, don't leave her, you know, hold her hand. Probably the most difficult part was saying goodbye to Mummy, because she was still warm. And we all gathered round the bed, and I gave her back to Our Lady, and I asked Our Lady to take her to God, and I asked her to take her to my dad and my brother. And I said, would you hold Mummy's hand until she goes to the theatre doors, and will you make sure that she doesn't suffer in the theatre? Because she's still my mummy, and I wanted her back, but I didn't want her back not being the same person.
Does it give you comfort now, knowing that your mother's death has enabled other people to live healthier lives?
I look at Mum's photographs, and I know I've taken some of them down today, and my house now has become a shrine almost to my mum's photographs, and it's a bit unfair because my husband also has lost his parents, and I suppose I should have given him a few more slots in the furniture for the photographs. But I look at the photographs some days and I think, you know, there's an elderly gentleman with his grown-up children still enjoying life 2 years on, Barbara. And the same for the lady that's minding her many grandchildren. It doesn't mean that we don't think of Mummy. We think of Mummy all the time. I don't think that my mummy lives on in those people. I think my mummy gave those people the extra years that they're getting now, and that they're living their life to the full because of what my mum has done.
Does it give you pride?
Absolutely. Absolutely. My mum always would give you the bite out of her mouth. In fact, my mum gave our dinners away on many of an occasion because other people came into our house. You'd go to the oven and your dinner was gone because someone else got in before you. And like it just epitomises what she was. The fact that she just gave everything and wanted to give it. And if she can help 5 people, 10 people, that's fantastic.
And your mum was a giver. Very clearly,
absolutely.
And you're very clearly a giver now because you're doing the fundraising events around Newry and Mourne in order to raise awareness for organ donation. What have you done recently?
Through the Newry City Marathon, as I said, when we were down getting the awards from Dame Mary Peters from St John's, and it is the first time in Ireland that people in Northern Ireland were recognised for giving their organs, and it was a beautiful, beautiful day in Belfast Castle. My husband, Jackie, is one of the race directors of Newry City Marathon, and my husband offered the Newry City Marathon as a platform for the organ donation team, and we've built up a relationship now where the organ donation team came along and gave us lots of literature, and we put that into all of the participants for Newry City Marathon 2014's goodie bags. My brother-in-law Liam, who has come through the same experience as ourselves, and who had a lot of issues with should he carry the card, shouldn't he carry the card, you know, does he want it, does he not? And I have to say I'm very pleased that he is still carrying his card, and he ran the Newry City Marathon and wouldn't be one for asking people for money, so there's always someone behind that, and my sister Elaine did the fundraising for him for the Newry City Marathon, and he raised his money, and I think he's doing a presentation check in the papers for organ donation. The structure of organ donation, the awareness thing is the big side of it, but to fundraise for them is more difficult. They actually can't take a cheque off us. It's a bit like some of the parts of the hospitals and different divisions. There has to be a way that you pay when you're fundraising, so it is important to maybe put it across that it's an awareness campaign as opposed to a money exercise, you know, that we can fundraise, because it is difficult. Sometimes the money would not be seen to be local. So what they suggested to us, the organ donation crowd, was that Daisy Hill Hospital's renal unit, because all of those people are waiting on transplants, that they are so underfunded that any money that's raised, maybe we would consider giving it to them. As another option, they offered us the intensive care unit in Craigavon Area Hospital to give the donation there, again for more equipment, for more staffing, whatever is needed. And I passed that back to my brother-in-law because it's not my money and it's not my decision, and he did all the hard work by running the marathon. So again, it's an awareness campaign that you know, I now feel that I'm part of, and I would have to say that the team in Belfast looked after us fantastically. Very, very hard job that they do, and credit where credit's due.
And finally, what would be your message to anyone watching at the moment who has not yet signed the register?
If it's something that you feel you have the strength to do, then I would just say, you know, someone else can get the benefit of it.
And talk to your loved ones about it.
Absolutely. Tell your loved ones that this is what you would like and that you would want them to carry out your wishes. It's very easy. It's only a card in the back of your wallet. Just carry the donor card.
Fantastic. Thank you very much for coming in and talking to us today, Jennifer.
Oh, thank you, Rory.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So a big thank you to Jennifer for her story and all my other guests on today's programme. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next week, next Friday, 7 p.m. on Destination Insight.